Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Moms Making Money Show. I'm your host, Amie Pederson, business mentor and confidence coach for female entrepreneurs. This episode is brought to you by our signature program, The Recipe for Success. This is your all-in-one, one-stop shopping, everything you need, 6-month mastermind. This gives you every component that you need, even the unsexy stuff like accounting and how to invest your money once you start becoming a high-income producer, and everything in between, from sales pages, sales copy, Facebook ads, many expert trainings, and so much more, including an amazing community of like-minded people who can really get you through some of those obstacles by giving you their hands-on feedback, along with one-on-one mentoring as well from yours truly. So if you are interested in that, we will post a link in the show notes and you can take a look. I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Jennifer Morilla, and she is an impact travel blogger. And I have talked to so many women who that's like their dream business is to become a travel blogger, especially us moms who we're stuck at home with our kids. Like, I love to travel. We travel 3 and 4 times a year. And so to become a travel blogger, that's the dream. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about it. Tell us what made you decide to jump into this awesome career path, if you will, business.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super grateful. I love doing podcasts. They're so much fun. And honestly, kudos to you, 4 times a year with babies.
It's rough sometimes.
Yeah, no, but you know what? It is doable. I have a sister and she has got 2 little girls, and her and her husband, they don't play games. They just got back from like Turks and Caicos 2 weeks ago. Before that, they were up in Vermont. Like, they are just like all over the place. They take their girls everywhere. I think it's a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. Yes, it's definitely a little harder, maybe a little bit more expensive because you got extra luggage, but it's definitely doable. But yes, so I am Jen Morilla. I call myself an impact travel blogger because I do a little bit of different type of travel. I'm a very authentic traveler. What I mean by that is that, like, and I guess we could go into that, like, you know, how I started this and all that stuff, but to give you guys a recap of, like, you know, what kind of traveling I do. I started in 2015, and I was definitely staying in places a lot longer than most people. So it wasn't like a week or a weekend. It was like a couple weeks, and I was really getting to know people. I kind of became like a temporary local, and I found that, like, I was finding out, like, where to get the cheap groceries, where to get the fresh produce, how to, like, hail cheaper taxis, and all these countries that I was staying at. And I was also like realizing the bad. And what I mean by the bad is, like, all the things that happen in countries, even the United States, you know, the things that people don't talk about. But it's so common, and it definitely happens. And what I started doing is carrying clean water filters and bringing them to third world countries. And each water filter that I was carrying is for 100 people for up to 5 years. And so I started doing that when I was traveling to third world countries. And because I was on a budget, it was a lot cheaper to travel to, like, you know, India or Indonesia or Guatemala or Nicaragua and all stuff. But you did have those, like, types of factors. And then when I went to, like, developed countries, I would just stay there longer. That's kind of like where I got the work done, right? Like the stuff that nobody likes to talk about, like those blog posts and edit my videos and all that stuff. But yeah, that's the kind of traveler that I am. And yeah, I've been doing this for like 3 years now, a little bit over 3 years. And it's been quite a journey.
That is super awesome. And it sounds like, obviously, like, you're really well traveled. But the thing that, like, stood out for me is, let's talk about these water filters and, like, kind of, I know you do, like, some philanthropy work with these water filters, that you don't just pack them around with you and, like, whatever. Tell us how this kind of
came about.
It's part of your journey.
Okay, we'll go back to, like, the juicy stuff, but I graduated with a master's in marketing. And so obviously, I mean, you don't go to school to become a travel blogger. You kind of just create it. It's kind of, but it does involve a lot of marketing and sales. And it just requires you to be really creative, to be honest with you, and then have the balls to be like, right, I'm going to do this. I think that's probably 90% of what it takes.
Yeah.
But I graduated with a bachelor's in marketing and I got a master's in social entrepreneurship. I did my master's in 2013 in London. And I did my thesis in Brazil. So when I was in Brazil, I was working with like nonprofits in Sao Paulo, and I was kind of reframing their business model to more of like a social enterprise. So think of like the Tom's, Tom shoes. Think of that type of business model. So it's a for-profit business, but a percentage of the profits go to a cause. And I definitely think that I'm a huge advocate on that, because I definitely think that that's the way to go, especially if you're trying to scale or impact. At the end of the day, you're running a business regardless, and you need money to make things happen.
Yeah.
Just because you're doing philanthropy work, philanthropy work requires you to invest a lot of money. It would be nice to do it on like, I also think like on a like mental scale, like it does something to people when they don't have to, you're not just giving them groceries, but you're having them buy the groceries, or you're teaching them something. There's like a barter. It definitely helps people. And so I did a lot of research on that, and my passion was a lot of that. And when I graduated from grad school and I came back to New York and I tried to get a job, I couldn't. There was like nothing that existed like that, and nothing that paid my grad school loans. And so I was like, damn it, I have to go back to what I know, which it wasn't so bad because I loved it. But I went back to like the marketing world, and I was an account manager. And I worked for an agency for a little bit over 3 years. And then I just kind of got to the point that I was like, what I do doesn't really matter. And I just kind of got fed up with it. And I was like, you know what? I am going to do this and really just figure it out. And I saved up a lot of money. It took me 8 months. I had like a plan, and I sold everything. I moved out of my apartment in New York City, moved back home. Sold my car, sold clothes, sold things that I just wasn't using anymore. And like really made my life so much smaller, and saved up about $14,000, which is like nothing. But then I was like, yes, this is gold. I made it work though. I made it work. And I left in February of 2015. And I was on a serious budget. Yeah, it worked. And it's really awesome. Yeah, it was an article that got published in Forbes and about me traveling with $14,000 on a social mission. And people were like, how did you do it? And essentially I worked while I was traveling. I was making money while I was traveling, but it was really a strict budget. Let's just say I ate a lot of ramen noodles that year.
Indeed. And so with these water filters too, you guys, like, you give those to the communities around the world in like these third world countries that really desperately need them.
Yeah. So the way it works is I work with huge brands that pay me to create the content and the story around the trip or the initiative or the project, right? I work with nonprofits on the ground that work with communities that need these water filters. So some of these projects require like new houses. There was one particular that I did in Guatemala, and it was like building, a series of homes in a very rural, like nothing exists on this mountain except people. I don't even know. I mean, if you saw the way they were living, you were just like, oh my goodness. And build them homes and then give these water filters. And I have my community of followers that will fundraise for these water filters. Each filter is like $50. And yeah, I mean, I go into these communities and I teach them how to clean it. So I bring up the conversation of like the very basic, which a lot of people is like, oh no, that's not a big deal. But like, education and the very basic education of like our world is what's missing. So like how to wash your hands, brush your teeth. Like people don't wash their hands when they go to the bathroom because there is no running water. So, some people just don't even use paper. So it's just like the very like simple mentality. And so showing these people like how to clean your hands and how to wash your hands and how to use a soap and to make sure, because the minute they contaminate these filters, those filters are useless. So making sure that they know that has to be like their hands have to be clean, whether they use a glove or whatever, and implementing that. But it's definitely, I have some great stories about people who are just like, oh, what is that? Like hand sanitizer. And you're just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think a lot of us probably take for granted because, you don't think about like, okay, you don't have running water. So yeah, you don't wash your hands, you know, you don't have access to soap. You don't have access to the clean drinking water and reverse osmosis and sparklets and all
Yep.
that kind of stuff that delivers water. So this, and obviously water is an essential part of life. So this is so huge. This is so amazing. What kind of, I mean, obviously you had to save money, so that was an obstacle, but what kind of other obstacles kind of came up for you in your life, whether it was self-doubt, fear, outside chatter, about getting this kind of lifestyle and business started, like off the ground? Because I can't imagine, like, that seems like kind of a scary thing to jump into.
I was 25 when I left. And I come from, I mean, I definitely had a lot of challenges. That's definitely my biggest challenge. I say that the hardest thing about doing what I've done is the mental mindset, is just being like, right, I'm committed to making this happen. I'm doing it. And I swear to God, when I quit my job, I remember that day, and like I came home and I sat on my bed and I was like bawling like a baby, and nobody knew anything, right? And I could like, I have a mirror in my room and like I can see my bed in my room, and I'm just like literally looking at myself for 5 minutes. And I was just like hysterical. And then I started laughing because I was like, you did this, you want this. And in a month from now, you're going to be with just a backpack and just you and your thoughts. And like, you can be and create whoever you want to be, like, you know? And I think that when I realized that moment, that for me was like, okay, I'm okay. I have this thing called like the bathroom moment, which is like, I feel like all women, they go to the bathroom to cry. I feel like I've never had an episode in my life that wasn't like impactful, that I wasn't in a bathroom, whether it was like a bathroom stall at work or like at a bar or something, where like, I was like hysterically crying. So I call it the bathroom moment, and you are allowed to have a bathroom moment for like up to 5 minutes. After that, it's like, put on your big girl pants and like, girl, get going, you know?
Right.
Yes. So my bathroom moment was that moment. And then I was like, all right, that's it. Like, I quit my job. My salary isn't going to come like next month. Well, no, it came next month. I was like, but that's it. Like, that goes straight into savings. Like, you know? And I mean, it definitely took a lot of courage. I also had, I didn't tell my family at all what I was doing, because I come from a very close family. My parents are Hispanic, Cuban immigrants. So like, being raised, we were taught that like, you get an education, you go to school, you start working, then you get married, you buy a house, you have babies, and like, it all needs to happen really fast. And that didn't really work out for me at all. Like, I went to school, I dated, didn't meet anybody, then went to school again, didn't date. I tried to date, didn't meet anybody. And then I just kind of was like, I don't even want to be in New York. I don't really think I want a house around here. And I don't really like the men in this country. It's like, I want to go somewhere else. And so, yeah, for me, it was just like really different. So I didn't tell anybody what I was doing until I like bought the ticket and quit the job. Because once I did that,
not going back.
Yes, there was no turning back. I knew they couldn't say anything. I also like, I think personally the biggest catalyst was my senior year of college, I had a younger brother and he passed away. And he passed away in like a terrible accident. And it was literally from one day to the next, and he was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Thank you. And he was my best friend. And we were what they call Irish twins, like a year apart. And, you know, I had spoken to him hours before he passed. And I think when somebody goes through something like that and they realize like, holy shit, I'm still alive. What am I doing? What do I want? And I think that when you start asking that question to yourself after living through something so terrible, that question becomes really big. And for a long time, that was like, what do I want? What do I want? And I was just going through life because I was supposed to. And I felt like I didn't even want to be there. And I was just in a terrible, terrible space. And so for me to actually sit down and say, I want to travel and I want to just do something bigger. I want to change the world. I literally wrote that in my journal. It was like huge. And I would say that and I would start bawling like a baby. I remember I told my parents and they were like, my dad was like, that's so cute, but like, you need to eat. And I was like, yeah, I know you don't understand what I'm talking about. And that's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, but believe that like I'm going to be fine because I know I'm going to be fine. And I need to do this. It was just like every time I thought about it, it was just like my stomach was turning, and it was like, I was so excited. So that was definitely the biggest catalyst for me, was just being able to like let go of the how and just be 100% certain that it was going to be successful and trust.
I love that. I love that. That is such a great story. And I love that you had that strength to like overcome, you know, a tragedy, you know, like, and it's hard to like put it into words of, you know, healing from grief, because it's, you know, it's something that really doesn't ever probably go away.
Yeah.
But, you know, it probably gives you like this little spark of knowing like, you know what, my brother would be so damn proud of me right now for what I'm out there doing and bringing clean water to third world countries and, you know, living my dream and changing the world, as cute as that may be.
Yeah, no. And you know, it's funny, like, I say to, I mean, it could have been two options, Amie. I could have just dug a hole in deep depression, anxiety, which I was definitely on my way of doing. And it was not a pretty hole.
Right.
Or I could have turned it around and have done something bigger and better than myself. And that to me was like, I need to do that, because what was the point of going through all this shit if I was just going to be in a dark, deep hole?
Right.
Like there's gotta be something better. Like that's honestly what woke me up and got me out of bed every single day. I was like, there's gotta be something better. There has to be a reason why we, my family and I, going through this shit. There's no way it can be just so that I can live my life forever through depression, anxiety, and be taking medication and feeling like shit. Like there has to be more. It has to be more. So that's honestly what it was for me. It was like, there has to be more. I don't want to leave this earth without leaving like a big footprint behind, you know?
Yeah. Heck yeah. That, yeah. Go big or go home, right?
Yep. Go big or go home. Yep.
I love that. I love that. So since you ate a lot of ramen noodles and you overcame, you know, some pretty, you know, hefty obstacles, tell us, I really want to get into kind of, you know, the meat and potatoes of what you do. How do you have a business that is, you know, a travel blogger? Like, obviously, like, you know, as a blogger myself, like I could blog about like, oh, I just went to Hawaii, but I had to pay for that. Like I paid a small fortune for my little trip. Right.
Yeah.
But which is partly why I'm in business and why I do what I do, is because that's part of what I want for my life is travel. So I know there's a lot of people out there, you know, kind of like we've discussed, that this is like their dream to be a travel blogger, to go out and make an income, make a living doing this and sharing their experience with an audience and followers and a tribe of people. What does that mean exactly?
So you have to, I mean, so it's funny because that's everyone's like number one question. It's just, I mean, you have to be creative. And by being creative, I mean like creative in the ways of how you bring in income, right? So when I first started, and like any business, there was an investment, right? So that $14,000 went into my business.
Yeah.
Whether it was buying a plane ticket, booking a hotel room, whatever. But the minute I knew that I wanted to make a business out of this, I started to hustle. So I started to reach out to like hotels and like from the ground up, right? So at first it was like products, and then it was hotels, and then it was destination boards. And the funny thing is that eventually you get to a point where you have built enough content, where you have built a name for yourself, where people are like, okay, she has a following. She knows what she's talking about right now. We need to start paying her because she's creating more than, you know, we expected, or the quality, and there's more of an audience, right? So travel bloggers, or any type of blogger or influencer, they're a media outlet. And so what companies would pay for a TV spot, and obviously TV spots are more expensive,
right.
Well, it depends on the type of influencer you are. Let me rephrase that. If you have like 1 million followers, you got a different story.
Yes.
But essentially we're media outlets, and we distribute content in several outlets. And so it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, however our audience and whoever we're speaking to, I associate those, and my brands associate me with that type of audience. Right.
Okay.
So brands pay me to create content, and content could look like video, photography, or written content, and it could be clothes. And I'm very niched. So my brands, the brands that I work with, are either socially sustainable or eco-friendly. So the people that follow me are coming to me for that type of content, which means that the brands that I'm reaching out to and the companies that I'm working with are only going to be about those types of things. So yeah, I mean, when I first started, a lot of the money that I did was investing into my business. But what I started to do is I started to like cut the costs in hotels, eating at certain restaurants. I would try to find companies that did group tours, and I would be like, hey, let me jump on this group tour. I'll do a video about it. And I'll share some like marketing images that you can share for your website. If you just let me jump on for free, so I got myself there, but I spent, 2 weeks in Thailand with food and accommodation, and I was staying in like my own villa, and all I was doing was, I mean, it is work. It's a lot of work. It's video and photography and like, Instagram stories and all that stuff.
Right.
And now it's to the point that it's just like, now, I mean, then I didn't charge, because then I was like, I'm just starting. I just need the content. I need the content. Right. But I was working for it in a sense that I was, bartering services or accommodation, whatever the case was. And now it's like, all right, I do that and I get paid to be there, because it is a job. I am working. I just got back from Amsterdam and Aruba, and I have more than enough work for like the next 3 weeks, probably a month. The amount of video content and photos and writing I need to do, it requires more time than those, 4 days in Aruba and 3 days in Amsterdam, Right. So that's essentially how the business model works. I am a brand, the Social Girl Traveler. So there's, the travel blogging, then I do coaching, and then I do speaking. So there's definitely different avenues to my brand and the person that I've created. So there's different streams of revenues that I make in my brand and how I make that happen. It's definitely essentially how it started, but it's now scaled bigger. When I first started, it was a lot of social media management. Then it turned into social media consulting. And then I just started consulting for brands that I was working with.
Right.
And all that stuff. So yeah, it was, that's essentially how it works. And it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
So if one of our listeners, if they wanted to really like become a travel blogger, that's the type of mentoring and coaching that you provide, is like how to do, how to get out there, find kind of, almost like finding a sponsor, right?
Yeah. Oh, and absolutely.
The marketing, negotiating, and all of that.
I teach people how to create an online presence. A lot of my clients vary. I have a psychic client. I have I have 2 travel bloggers. I have people that do health coaching. I have people. So it's just about creating an online presence and then figuring out where to find the right people, how to negotiate contracts, and what to look for. And then the big thing that I think people struggle with is like their worth, right? Like, how much do you charge to do a package like this? And how much? So yes, I help my clients with the whole thing, the whole aspect, the whole bundle of like creating a brand and making this work. Because there gets to a certain point that like you can't do it alone, and you need people. And essentially that's where I get to my clients, where they're like, Jen, it's working, but I can't do it alone anymore. What do I do now? Like,
yeah, now what? What's the next step?
You hire someone. This is the fun part. Yeah.
Well, and there's something gratifying too about like hiring your first assistant and implementing some automation and some of that other stuff that you're like, all right, like this is those steps to, like getting there.
I know, it's really exciting because it's funny because when I started this, I was like, I want to be a travel blogger, and I'm going to grow it all by myself. And then a year ago this time, I was like completely drained. And I mean like overworked, fried, mentally, physically, like wasn't even working on my physical health. It was all like work. And I was exhausted, and I was doing it all by myself, but I was like, how do people, there's no way. And then actually my coach at the time was like, do you really think that you plan to grow like you want to grow and do this all alone? I was like, no, I guess not. She's like, okay, we need to get you an assistant.
Right, you need a little help here.
You need a lot of help here. And yes, and like now I have a team of 5. four and no, yes, 4 and 2 interns.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's really good, and it's just like it's growing, and it's like the dream, right? I don't want to do all this work by myself anymore. Now I'm just like, here, you take it, you do it. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want to do it.
No, that's great, and I love the idea of having an intern. Like, like I think most businesses could utilize an intern.
Oh, and the funny thing is that my interns like came to me and they were like, I want to do what you do. Can I just like
shadow you?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And that's exactly what they're doing. Like they're already growing their brand and they're younger. So they're starting where I probably should have started, and I probably would have been more successful at the age that I would have started,
Right.
And they have the foundations, like I'm giving them, and I tell this to all my clients, like I've done all the shit I wasn't supposed to do. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you what not to do because I did it and I know what the end result will be. It's like, so yeah. So my interns, like I also like coach them. Like they are like, they help me and I help them. So they're good. It's good. But I love that. I really do. Because I love when they see results and growth,
Right. No, that's amazing. I love that. That's so good. I actually wrote it down because I think that that's a good thing to, share with people that like, hey, if you have something of value to offer, which obviously if you're in business, hopefully you have something of value to offer, like that's a really great avenue to get started.
My interns are college students, and it's funny because they're graduating, like they're done, they're going to go out and get real jobs in the real world. And it's like they live in this box of what they should do. And both of them don't want that. They're both like, I want to do something different. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that, but like, how do I make this work? And I literally have just like opened the curtains and I'm like, voila. And they're like, oh my God. And I could do this and I could do that. And I was like, yes, keep going. I'm like, there's so much you can do. And I say this all the time. I mean, I speak at universities and I've spoken at high schools. Like, I don't think it's necessary for you to go to college unless you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or like an engineer. But if you just want to get out there and do photography or whatever it is, the kind of business that you want to run. I think that we live in a generation where it is very easy to make that happen. And it doesn't have to be just in your hometown. It can be on a global scale.
Right.
You just have to think bigger than you're told.
And you have to flex that belief muscle a little bit harder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to. But
that's the number one thing. I'll get on a client call and I'm like, do you believe in yourself? And if somebody's like, I'm like, I don't want to work with you.
Right.
If they're like, I know this is going to work. I just need somebody to like stand in my corner. I'm like, girl, I got you. My sleeves are up. I'm ready to go. You are. Yes. But 100, I think that's the hardest part. And that's one of my biggest, like, that was definitely one of my biggest struggles is like my limiting beliefs and just the noise of like what you should be doing. I'm 29 years old. I'm very much single. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I would love all those things in my life and it just hasn't come for me yet. Whereas like all my friends are married with children and moving on to like the next thing in their life, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to go that way,
No, it's like taking the rule book and just getting rid of it and just doing what feels good to you. But, so that I say that lightly because like I'm huge on having strategy, like when you're actually implementing a business plan.
Yes.
But I'm also huge on only doing things that feel good to you. It's just that sometimes you don't know if it feels good to you until you have a plan in place and you try it out.
I think that we as women have the power of like intuition. And we have it, like, I don't think men have it. I mean, men have it to a capacity, but I think we as women have that bigger advantage.
Right.
And we don't listen to it as much as we should. And I think that that's where that feels good comes in. But yes, I agree. I think that only feels good goes to a certain point because our emotions kick in and stuff like that. But you definitely 100% need strategy.
Yeah. Because otherwise you don't even know what to try to see if it feels good or not.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. I love all of this. I love what you're doing with your water filters. That's like, I don't know, it's like taking travel blogging, which like I said, everybody wants to do that. And it's really doing something amazing with it. It's really making a difference. It's giving back and in such an impactful way. So I love that you say you're an impact travel blogger because that's really the truth. You're not just, a lady who wants to just go on free vacations. You're out there making a dang difference. And that's huge, huge, huge. But here's the cool thing is for all of you guys listening, you guys have a chance to earn a free 30-minute session with Jennifer. So what she's doing is she's going to offer 4 lucky people a free 30-minute session where you can ask her your questions, I would say probably what business, social media, marketing, travel blogging, all the things. But here's the requirement that we've got in place. You'll need to share the social media post, whether you share it from my post or hers, because it'll be tagged. And we'll have it on Instagram and Facebook. And you also just need to leave a review here. So once you've subscribed to the show, leave a review. Tell us how much you loved having Jennifer on. And we'll be reviewing those. And she will pick 4 lucky people to have those sessions with, and she'll just reach right out to you.
Yes, I'm so excited. That's going to be so fun. Let's see who turns up.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for offering such an amazing gift to our listeners. And thank you for really shedding some light on how to really make an impact. I mean, I don't think that a lot of people realize what a big deal it is, what you're out there doing.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I say this to people all the time. We the generation that's currently happening right now, all these influencers, all these people that are, doing stuff, because the internet is it's like literally our fingertips, and it's such a powerful tool. We need to start having conversations about stuff that like really matters, right?
Yeah.
However that looks for you, if it's mental health, if it's the environment, if it's like helping other people, like those things need to happen because we are each other. Without each other, we're not anything.
Yeah. So absolutely.
Oh, but thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It's been my pleasure. And I'm sure we'll be having you back as we follow you around the world and see the impact that you're truly making. So thank you so much. And you guys be sure that you guys take advantage of her generous offer. Leave your review here and hop over to social media. You can find her over at The Social Girl Traveler and at Jen M. Morilla. That's JenMMorilla. And be sure to give her a follow.
Yes. Looking forward to meeting you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye. Safe travels.
Thanks.